Welcome to the deep dive. We've seen a lot of reaction to that piece by Hamza Khan, the one titled, Discipline Will Take You to Places Where Motivation Can't.
Oh, absolutely. It's a title that really grabs you, doesn't it?
It really does. Makes you think instantly about, well, how you actually tackle your own goals.
Exactly. And I think what hits home is that core question he raises. Why does he argue discipline is, well, more vital than motivation for actually doing the things we want to do?
Right. Whether that's, health stuff, finances, relationships, your job, all those things you might be working on right now.
The big life areas.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, really, to kind of unpack Khan's thinking. Why this focus on discipline? Why might that be more effective long-term than just riding that wave of motivation?
Yeah, because motivation feels so powerful initially.
Okay, let's get into it. We all know that feeling, right? Especially maybe around New Year's or starting something new, that big rush of wanting to change things.
That initial energy, yeah, it's potent. And Khan acknowledges that. He says motivation is where it often it stirs up feelings, ideas, excitement.
It gets the ball rolling.
It does. And this is his key point, that feeling. It's often temporary. It doesn't guarantee you'll keep going.
Yeah, he puts it like this. Motivation is the starting point, but some people stop there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think we can all relate to that, can't we?
Definitely. That burst fades, and then what?
And that's where Khan says, okay, this is where self-discipline needs to step up.
Right. And his definition is crucial, I think.
Yeah.
He says self-discipline is what is going to help us to make the decision to resist daily temptation that might prevent us from moving toward achieving our goal.
So it's about those small daily choices.
Exactly. Making them consistently, even when that first buzz is long gone. It's the less exciting bit, maybe, the day in, day out stuff.
The daily grind, yeah. The part that isn't always Instagrammable. And Khan points out why this is maybe harder now with all the instant gratification around us.
That pull for the immediate reward, yeah.
Tell me more about that link he makes.
Well, he suggests that constantly giving in to immediate wants, like, that impulse buy or the sugary snack, it might actually weaken our ability to delay gratification.
Which you need for long-term goals.
Precisely. Our world is sort of set up for quick hits, and that can make it harder to stick with things that require patience. Use those examples like getting into debt for something you want now and then regretting it later.
That's a powerful example. It really highlights the kind of background noise of temptation we're always dealing with.
It really does.
So, okay, if motivation is fleeting and the world tempts us to just take the easy route, how do we actually get better at this self-discipline thing? Khan mentions advice from people who are good at it.
Yeah, he talks about what the more seasoned folks say, and it seems to boil down to like being intentional about it, being dedicated, and just repetition, practice.
Right, that repetition idea seems key, like building a muscle.
Totally. Khan uses that analogy like quitting a bad habit. The first few times you say no, it's hard, right?
Yeah. Really hard.
But the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's like you're rewiring things a bit, building resilience through doing it over and over.
Okay, so it can be built. It's not just something you have or you don't. How does Khan suggest we, actively work on it? He gives some practical steps, right?
Yes, very practical. First off, just recognizing that it is something you can improve. It's not fixed.
It's encouraging in itself.
Isn't it? Then, he says, be really clear on what you need to control. You can't tackle everything at once, so prioritization is important.
Focus your efforts.
Exactly. Then, make a plan. Break down the big thing into smaller steps. Makes it less daunting.
Makes sense. What else?
He also mentions getting enough sleep, which, we often sacrifice.
Guilty.
We all are. But being tired just tanks your willpower, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Trying to resist cake when you're exhausted? Forget it.
Right. So sleep matters. And then reducing temptations. Basically make it easier on yourself. Don't have the cookies in the house if you're trying not to eat them.
Set yourself up for success.
And also reward small wins. Acknowledge progress along the way. It helps keep you going.
Okay. And he stresses it's individual too, right? What works for me might not work for you.
Absolutely. There's no single magic bullet. You have to find your own rhythm, your own strategies that stick.
Okay, that's helpful. Now, I thought the way Khan directly compares motivation and discipline was really stark, really clear. Can we walk through those comparisons?
Yes, this is where the argument really crystallizes, I think. He says, motivation is a feeling, but discipline is an action.
Feeling versus doing. Simple as that.
Pretty much. You can feel super motivated, but if you don't do anything consistently, well, nothing much happens.
True. And then the temporary versus persevering point.
Yeah, motivation is temporary, but discipline perseveres. It's the difference between a sprint and a marathon, maybe. Discipline is what carries you through the middle miles when the initial excitement is gone.
When it gets boring or hard.
Exactly. And building on that, he says, motivation fades after time, but discipline grows after time.
How does it grow?
Well, like we said with repetition, the more you practice a disciplined action, the more ingrained it becomes. It takes less conscious effort over time. It becomes more of a habit.
Ah, okay. So it gets easier in a way.
Sharply, yes. Then he talks about scope. Motivation is an event, but discipline is a lifestyle.
Ooh, that's a big one. Lifestyle.
It implies that long-term commitment, doesn't it? Not just a flash in the pan, but how you operate day to day.
Right. And what about starting versus finishing?
He says motivation starts the project, but discipline finishes it. Which stings a little, maybe. How many great ideas started with huge motivation just fizzle out?
Too many to count, probably. It's the follow-through that's hard.
That's the discipline part. And his final comparison really sums it up. Motivation sets the goal, but discipline works it to accomplishment.
So motivation points the way.
But discipline builds the road and walks it.
Wow. Okay. That's a really powerful set of distinctions.
It really lays out his argument clearly. And I think it lands harder because he then talks about his own experience with this.
He shares his own shift, right? From relying on those motivation bursts to actually, building discipline.
He talks about getting past those common excuses, the I'm too busy or I don't have time traps that we all fall into sometimes.
How did he frame that realization for himself?
It seems like he just realized things weren't going to happen by magic, He had to take ownership and commit to the consistent action rather than just waiting to feel like doing it.
Waiting for lightning to strike.
Yeah, basically.
Mm.
Which rarely happens on schedule.
So true. And then, to make it super practical, he gives examples across different life areas. Can you remind us of some of those?
Sure, like for fitness, it's the discipline to actually do the workout each week and make the healthier food choice, even when you'd rather not.
Even on a Tuesday morning when it's raining.
Especially then.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
starting a business, it's the discipline for the less glamorous stuff. The research, the planning, sticking with it when things get tough. Finance is the discipline to, say, track spending, save regularly, invest, instead of just buying the next shiny thing. Career, it's putting in the time to study or gain experience consistently over time.
Right. Not just wishing for a promotion.
Exactly. And even creative stuff, like writing a book. It's the discipline of showing up, hitting a word count day after day, even when inspiration feels miles away.
Those examples really bring it home, don't they? It applies everywhere. And he uses that John Ron quote to wrap it up.
Ah, yes. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment.
That's such a perfect summary.
It really is. Motivation might get you to the edge of the canyon, maybe points you across, but discipline is what actually builds the bridge, piece by piece, so you can get to the other side.
So if we're boiling it down for you, the listener, the big takeaway from Hamza Khan is pretty clear, isn't it?
Yeah. Motivation is great. It's the spark. But it's discipline, that consistent, sometimes tough day-to-day action that actually gets you where you want to go. Fitness, money, work, whatever your goal is.
And he leaves you with a direct question to chew on. What areas do you need to shift from motivation to discipline?
It's a really good prompt for reflection, isn't it? Where
Right.
you may be just waiting to feel inspired instead of building the habit, the discipline.
Exactly. And maybe one final thought to leave you with. Consider this ripple effect idea.
Mm.
Khan sort of hints at it.
Mm.
If you build discipline in one area of your life, maybe something small to start, could that actually spill over? Could strengthening that discipline muscle in one place make you stronger in other seemingly unrelated parts of your life too?
That's a fascinating thought. Build it somewhere, and maybe it benefits you everywhere. Definitely something to think about.